Hey
Yo,
man.
what's up, Reg? You there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, man. Good.
Yeah, I apologize about the wait, man. I had to just quickly move the car around to location. Of course, it's raining right now. You know what I'm saying? So,
No, it's
do
all good,
apologize
brother.
for the wait.
It's all good, brother.
Yeah, man. We were talking about doing this for a while. So hell, I didn't expect it to be tonight, but I found the perfect opportunity. All three of us were there in Loving Christians live chat, so it's like, hell, so now seems like a pretty good time, because me and you talked about, doing this discussion, but hell, we seen that, the other brother was live too. So why not bring him here for the discussion too? Because he's one of the, original OGs.
Yeah, man. It's crazy too that we still can't get the vigilant soldier in for something because, like I said, like one time a year, man, he will text me on Instagram and be like, hey, how's ETT, and we should get together, and he never responds back.
Okay, 1 second. Let me just, yo, King Lion, this you?
Yeah,
All right.
the image
Can you
went
move,
low.
or can you get a little closer to the mic, man?
Yeah, I'm right next to the phone.
Okay. Rich, can you hear him okay?
Yeah, I can hear him okay.
All right, cool. Yeah, sorry about the wait, um, King Lion. I just had to get myself situated, so I do apologize about that. But yeah, man, it's good to have the three of us up here, man. We haven't done this in literally years, man. I feel like we just stepped back to 2016 again.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, because a lot of people that might be watching this video, don't know that the three of us here, we go back 10 years, right? We all go back to 2015, 2016. That's how
Yep.
long we've known each other here. A lot of the guys, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, but a lot of the guys we have that come around here today, a lot of those guys are just new. They came up like within the last couple of years. But the panel we have here, we're the real OGs, or at
Yep.
least what's left of them.
Yeah.
So I was just doing something.
But yeah, what do you guys want to start off with speaking of?
Uh, w-
Anything.
yeah. Anything, man. Go ahead and come up with something.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this. Just so we don't forget, I saw that King Lion was asking something about the guy recently who became like a Satanist. Lion, did you want to say something about that?
What's going on with him, man? Um, 1 minute he was a Hebrew Israelite, next minute he's a Satanist.
Yeah, I hear you. By the way, is one of you outside? I hear like either a bird or fire alarm in the background.
Yeah,
Um,
that's me, man.
I thought that was
Okay.
me.
But yeah, the dude, he calls himself Jew though, right? And he's like one of the new guys around here. He's only been coming around here for roughly a year, right? Roughly a year. Dude thinks that he's like, a top guy or whatever. But I try to tell the guy, hey, look, man, some of us around here have known each other for a decade. You're the new kid on the block around here, man. So you have to have some respect for people when you come to this panel, because some of us have known each other for years and years. Even I and Jay known each other for like 7 years. Where this guy Judah, he just needs to chill out a bit. Like one week he's Bible this, teaching this and that. And then the next week, oh well, now he's a Satanist. Right now he's literally, doing sacrifices or oaths to the devil, and making murals to put on his wall. You know what I'm saying? It's just
That's
really, really
insane.
bizarre stuff, man. Somebody in the comments said, man, that's the quickest downfall I've ever seen of somebody. I was like, damn, I happen to agree with you. That has to be the quickest downfall I've seen of somebody, and that's really sad.
First one.
Have you talked to Jay about that, ETT?
About what?
about Judah.
I mean, I tried to do that, but me and Jay were not really at good standing right now. Due to his fault, not mine. But there's always room for things to change in the future. There's always
Yeah,
room for things to change. Like a great example would be, me and King Lion. For a while, we were going against each other for a little bit, but over some time, we acknowledged the difference is we got, and we learned to respect that. So even though me and King Lion, we definitely disagree on some doctrinal points, of course, but you know what? We both learned to respect, those different views. We both learned to
yeah,
respect those different views that we have differently, because as I've said earlier, we've known each other for over a decade, have conversations that long, so we learn to respect, our differences. Even me and Reggie as well, if people see on the other live streams, like we've discussed things like, once saved, always saved, we definitely disagree on that. But you know what? We
yeah,
learn to respect those differences.
yeah. Um, and yeah, I was, we were talking in the stream yesterday about these people who are just have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of subs, and are complaining about being shadow banned or not getting enough views. And it's like people like us three, we've literally basically get next to nothing, and we don't complain like that. Like, we've been doing this for so long, and like, if that doesn't tell people how genuine we are, that like we've made no money really off of this, not really much recognition, like we're really about the truth.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Oh, and a quick shout out to the Light in the Stark World in the comment section. He's been here for probably like what 9, 10 years, right back from Rock Upon Him's days. He's been here a long, long time viewing. So definitely want to give that brother a shout out, and thank him for being here because he's a pretty cool guy and he's been here, one of our long time, viewers on this channel. So shout out to him for tuning in.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, guys, as I alluded to earlier, looking back, 10 years, back then we used to have, like a whole group of guys that we, hung out with. And what's really left of them today? The only thing that's really left is, me, Ridge, and King Lion, all those other guys, whether we're talking about Kyle or John or, some of the other individuals, those guys, are long gone. Nobody's seen these guys in a long time, man.
yeah.
Like King Lion, when's the last time you've talked to Rock Upon Him or Kyle?
Well, there was an account that came on my main channel claiming that he was rock upon him. Didn't really take it serious, but may have been him, may have not. I've not heard from him from years.
So, King Lion, I have to ask you this, because me and ETT's talked about this. The Jake Rubens guy, right, who was claiming to expose Rock Upon him and said his little brother Izzy Pop was being harassed. The pictures that he claimed was his little
It was
brother.
Justin Bieber's
You
son.
ended up showing me. You ended up showing me that was actually Justin Bieber's celebrity friend, right? Like,
Exactly.
yeah. Like that whole thing was, I don't know what to say. Like, I'm not saying they're not brothers or they're not real, but like, why would he purposely use a fake celebrity's persona and claim that's his little brother? And why would he say, Izzy Pop say that's him when it's clearly not?
I reckon he was just a troll. He was just trolling everyone. That's what I
Yeah,
reckon.
and
Well,
playing both sides, right?
well, let me chime in on that. This is where I'm a little confused on the topic because we're referring to the Izzy Pop situation back in 2018, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Well, here's where I stand on it. It's a little confusing because on one hand, I do see what y'all are saying about using a fake picture or whatnot, but here's where I'm confused because I've had literal phone chat conversations, private phone call conversations with both of these people, and they sound completely different to me. And they both,
Maybe he's not
we can
Christian,
talk
but
for hours and hours about, their individual life stories and all that. So to me, they seem like two different people. So I'm just going to say it's unexplained as to
Yeah.
what happened with that whole situation. And for those tuning in who don't know what we're talking about, I'll just give you a quick rundown. So in 2018, Rock Upon Him was exposed for being, like a rainbow himself, and he was like talking to this dude called Izzy Pop 15, and supposedly, right? I can't say 100% true. I can't put that on him, but supposedly they were, sending, pictures back and forth with one another. So something happened, and again, this could we don't know if this is true or not. We're just making speculation here. But
Yeah.
apparently, what happened is Izzy Pop like ended his life for something. So then his brother Ruben did like a 5 hour long documentary exposing Rock Upon Him as being, gay, and, his history, his father being exposed, and, shit like that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And, yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about all that.
Yeah, and then like I don't know if y'all
You
will
guys talk
remember
a second. I'll be
this.
right back.
Okay, yeah, so King Lon, like I don't know if you'll remember this, but after Izzy Pop supposedly died, like his mom his quote unquote mom made a video like cussing out Rock Upon Him, and it was a robotic voice, right?
exactly.
I don't know
As I
if you
said,
remember. Yeah.
I just reckon it was just one big troll.
Yeah.
It was
But
just one big troll, and for
it's
that reason,
yeah, man, it's so weird. Like I will never comprehend that fart troll situation because um if it was a troll, this person was playing both sides, right?
I
They,
reckon it was just multiple people. There's no way it
yeah,
was just one specific person, because, like with Andrew Ashby years ago, it was like multiple accounts. Nobody's got time to run like 60 accounts.
yeah, man. Like I would almost go as far as to say like this whole thing was like a government psyop or something. 'Cause I don't know how people could come up with something like that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about the whole situation. I'm in the middle. I've talked
Yeah,
to these individuals that seem like real, genuine people, but then there are also some strange, I guess we could say, anomalies as well that y'all pointed out. You know what I'm saying? So, to me, it's just a weird situation. I don't know what to think. I don't know if the story's made up. I don't know if they're playing people. I don't know if it's a real situation. I don't know what to say. It's just weird shit on, both sides of the aisle, for lack of better terms, that you look at this.
yeah, and I've talked in text messages with Jake Rubens before, and of course in the YouTube comments as well. And I was in the Hangouts group with Rock Upon Him and Izzy Pop whenever all that supposedly went down, and Jake Rubens just started accusing me um, without any evidence, right? And so that was like the first red flag. And then he started accusing King Lon because King Lon used the Tor browser, right? And made like a whole 1 hour video
I remember
trying to make like false allegations there. So like he's either one of the most egotistical morons who just jumps to conclusions about people he don't know, or he's a troll.
that.
And
I even said why I was using the Tor browser. I used it because it has a built-in VPN and it protects you from somebody knowing your IP address.
yeah,
That's what that's what the Onion Torrent has, and also you can access information about governments and all that, and it's not censored on
I'll be
that.
back in 2 minutes, y'all. I'll be
yeah,
back. You guys continue talking.
yeah,
But
man.
I don't use it anymore though. I deleted it off my PC. I don't use it anymore and used it in years.
What do you use now for research?
I just use my phone because I can't use a laptop because it has this forced update, Windows 11, and if you
Yeah,
install it because the laptop's that old, it'd probably brick the laptop. So I just use the phone and the PlayStation 5 at the moment to
right.
do stuff.
But yeah, man, we know that he was making false allegations against people, and we also know he was straight up lying about who
Exactly.
he was, yeah, who his brother was, I should say. Um, but yet he still had time to make a 5 hour video. Like, it's such a bizarre thing, man, and it seems like it was a group of people playing both sides, right?
In my opinion, I reckon he didn't even have a brother, that it was just a ploy to attack Rock upon him. That's all I reckon it was. Just to
Yeah,
attack him.
yeah,
Because the image that he gave of his supposed brother is he had no actual real images. He used an image that was Justin Bieber's friend. So
yeah,
obviously he didn't have a brother. He's just lying.
yeah,
Unless he can prove with a real picture, he ain't got no brother. He's just
yeah,
lying.
yeah. And this person was making, you know, serious allegations against people.
And
Like, this isn't
he made him against me. He said I was using the torrent user for illegal means. No, I wasn't. I
right.
exposed a lot of sites on there. I didn't go
Yeah,
looking them up. As I said, if you go to those that know about the deep web, if you go to the deep web, it's not as hard as people think it is. It's not what people say. It's not safe. It is. I used it for a long time.
yeah,
You just go in a normal chat room. You just look up normal information, and there'll be thousands of torrent links, and it won't say what they are.
yeah,
And because of the curiosity of the way my brain is, I clicked it, and that's how I came into a chat room, a normal chat room, and I don't know whether it exists. It begins with A, B, and you could just chat to people, and you'd have obviously these sick individuals come into the normal chat room spamming links.
yeah,
But not everyone uses the deep web for illegal means. There's actually news people that use it, there's journalists that use it.
yeah. That's the thing, man. It's like, people have this assumption, like everybody goes on there to look up, like, Peter Scully type of stuff, and it's like, no, like
Exactly.
there
And
is
and
stuff on there about government
talking about
documents. Yeah,
that anyway, I regret exposing that. That's why I was I because of me exposing that, I can never live stream on the main channel ever again
yeah,
because I exposed it. The video got flagged down. Uh, and he sent me an email, or I appealed it. They admit they messed up, and they're like, "Sorry, we messed up. We've reversed the decision." 5 minutes later, the video got reflagged down, and they banned me from streaming on the main
yeah,
channel.
yeah,
Yeah, I hear y'all. People just assume things about people. You know what I'm saying? And by the way,
Exactly, man.
can you guys hear me clearly? Is
Yeah,
it too low or
I
what's going on?
can hear you
yeah. No, I
fine.
can hear you just fine, man.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, just people assume things about other people with like no,
It, it's
proof for
like
anything. You know what I'm
not
saying?
not
Yeah,
not to interrupt you. It's like people spread rumors about me. They said I was gay. They said I had
yeah,
gay images on my laptop, and people believed it. I'm gonna say straight up, I ain't gay. I got no desires towards men. But if people have, that's their choice. But the I had someone making false accusations against me, claiming that I was gay with no evidence.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hear y'all. I hear what y'all are
You
saying.
know,
Go
speaking
ahead,
of
Will.
that, whatever happened to that spoken night ministries individual, King
Oh,
Lon?
he got banned off YouTube and he never came back.
Oh,
He got
really?
banned. Yeah, he got banned. His channel doesn't exist.
Wasn't he also obsessed with the Vigilant Christian?
He was obsessed with the village in Christian, and he was obsessed with me.
Yeah.
Me,
Well,
like
why we brought
multiple
that up?
years ago.
Well, I'll let you finish that fault, but then we got mention Andrew Ashby after you finish.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
there was this other guy by the name of Led by God, and he said that I knew the Vigilant Christian Mario in person because I said I walked up to Mario and asked him something, and obviously what I meant was, um, you know, asked him something in the comments section. I just worded it wrong. He was like, "Oh, he said he walked up to Mario. This means they know each other in real life. They're working together."
I mean, it's just laughable. He even said the same thing to me. Said, "Oh, you're being paid by TVC Mario. Yeah, I live in the United Kingdom. So how is he paying me?"
Yeah. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I don't know where
Okay.
ETT's gone. You know, he must have left.
Yeah.
I ain't used this software in probably like 2 years, man. This is how I used to stream. StreamYard.
Yeah, man, it's been a while. Is Google Hangouts even a thing anymore?
No, it's not, unfortunately. They got rid of
Yeah,
it
I figured.
completely.
Yeah.
It's nonsense that you have to. I'm glad they got rid of it, man. But you do have to have a certain amount of subs to live stream. It's just stupid. But
Yeah.
you can just do it through the PlayStation. I might start doing it through the PlayStation. I've got a alternate account because I do want to start streaming through the PlayStation, man.
Yeah.
Because then I can actually go on the phone, pull up the chat, and it's not delayed. See, when I do the live stream, I view it through the PlayStation, so it's not really going to show all the messages for some reason. It's probably
Yeah.
YouTube's app. Now, if I pull the phone up, I can see all the messages. None of all of them come through. So
Yeah.
it must be just a glitch or something.
Yeah.
But I can easily stream from the PlayStation. Don't really have a microphone. I'll just use the, if I have to, I'll just use a snowball microphone that I have.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a long time since we talked. Well,
It has, man.
ETT's back.
Yeah,
Hey,
sorry about that. So people keep bothering me, so I
oh, I
have to
see.
handle that. You know what I'm saying? So I do apologize. I had to keep dropping there. My apology. But yeah, speaking of this Andrew Ashby guy, man, it's like, well, what's up with this guy? Guy's just obsessed with this TVC Mario. The guy got 1,000 videos, about him. And, it's pathetic and just hilarious to me how somebody can sit there and make 1,000 plus videos about an individual. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and same
Does,
with
does he
Cole Casper.
does he even still do videos anymore, Andrew Ashby? Because I haven't checked. Does he even still do anything now?
No, he's did you
I
say
don't think
Andrew
that he
Ashby?
does anything.
Yeah, Andrew Ashby. Does he
Yeah,
even
he's
still
been
do videos?
no, he flat out quit. He went to BitChute for some time, and then he just completely quit.
And that's what I said. Oh, it just shows, man. Soon as the village and Christian Mario quit, he had nothing to make content on. He became
Yeah,
irrelevant.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, the last thing I've seen about him is like Ridge showed me that video where he's like singing at church or something a couple years back.
yeah.
You know, it was hilarious. Like I remember, like 7 years ago, I did a stream and I had my finger like pointed a certain way. I was pointing at myself, but he screenshotted it at a certain time to make it look like, oh, well, he's giving the audience the finger here. It's like, no, dummy, I
Oh,
pointed to
no.
myself as I'm expressing something. You know what I'm saying?
Remember when he raged on the mic and he was like, "This is the truth."
Yeah, remember somebody, the fart troll guy made a whole song with that. He was like, "This is the truth," and had like metal uh,
He goes, "How
instruments
many times
banging.
do I
Yeah,
have to tell?" He goes, "How many times do I have to tell you that this is the truth?"
yeah,
You know, it's remember that, guys. We had to deal with the fart troll clown literally for years and years, like literally every
Oh yeah,
single day. And people watching our channels today don't know about this. We had to deal with this
even
clown for
though,
like literally years doing this content every single day, sometimes even multiple times a day.
yeah,
and as I said to Ridge, I believe it was more than one person because there is no way one person has the time to create multiple accounts and dedicate into so many channels. They even did it to me. They took a picture of my face and I don't even know whether it's still online.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you.
yeah. Hey, is ETT going?
Yeah, he won. I don't know where he won.
Wow. But yeah, man. Just people just have made so many false allegations, over time, and it's just insane. Like, where do you get that stuff from?
Exactly.
Like with the troll thing, like one thing to mention with that guy is I remember like somebody hacked into my account. Like let's go back to like 2017 here, right? The guy hacked into my account, and what they would do is they would change like the overlay pictures, like the thumbnails and stuff. So
Yeah,
like I
Wasn't
remember
that?
that this one time
I
they
know who that
they
was.
like this one time they tried to put like a what was it, some type of X content, and what they did is they edited the faces of it. They put like what's that girl's name? Like uh Sky Fox or something like that. And then
yeah,
my face over the other guy. It's like, what the hell? What's wrong with these people? You know what I'm saying? But it shows you some of the pure, bullshit we've had to deal with over the years with these, trolling individuals. So I laugh at these guys today that think that they're like doing something by like coming on the comment board
hmm,
and saying, "Oh, well, we expose you guys as, Satanist, or you guys are fake Christians or whatever." I laugh at those people. It's like, buddy, that you compared to the trolling that we've had to deal with over the years, your child's play. Like what Jay
yeah,
tries to do, what Judah tries to do, what these other clowns try to do. You guys are like child's play compared to the stuff that we've had to deal with over the years.
Yeah,
that port troll guy was a whole nother level, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know how the hell. I believe we all can agree on this. There definitely was more than one person involved there. There's no way that one individual has the time and energy to make multiple videos, sometimes each day, for literally years on end, 3, 4 years on end. There's no way that one individual has the time and energy to do that. And
Yeah,
don't get
man,
me
and
wrong. Go ahead.
and these were on like work days, you know, like at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday, you know, or something. Like, this person wasn't in school. They didn't have a job either, right?
Right, right.
And by the way, you know, speaking of Jay, like, he was just texting me on Discord, like asking if I'm conspiring against him because I'm talking to you guys, and like I've made this clear to everybody. Like, I can be friends with people who aren't friends with other people. You know, like I don't know how that's a hard concept to
Right,
grasp.
right. Absolutely, absolutely. Now let me ask, is he asking you that like right now or yesterday?
Yeah, no, he just asked me, like, and he said you're conspiring with two people that have done all this stuff to me, and it's like I have
It's
no
like,
idea. I
and
have
you know what I find funny, Ridge? Like somebody in the comments the other day pointed out this great example. They said, I don't know why Jay tries to make ETT look like such a bad person, like he's done nothing wrong. And this is a genuine question for people watching. What did I do to that guy that like makes me such a bad person? All I said is I disagree with his view about this and that, and told him, you know, that he should change his view about certain subjects because it contradicts the Bible. You know, that's all I said. You know what I'm saying? So I don't get why that makes me such a bad guy. You know what I'm saying?
well,
So yeah, you know, if
look,
Ridge
man.
wants to be friends with Jay, I don't have an issue with that. Now,
Well,
me
that's
and
what I
Jay right
thought.
now we're not on good terms, but that's due to his doing. That's not due to my doing. You know, hey, look,
Well,
this is what I have to say. I wish the best for the Mina Shireg, for Jay, for Judah, and all these other guys. I wish the best for those guys. Even Perry Green, believe that or not, I wish the best for him. But you know what? These people are bringing these bad things upon themselves by their beliefs and views and
well, look,
lifestyle.
look,
You know what
look,
I'm
look,
saying?
look, man. Let me ask you a question because I'm sure he's watching right now. Have I ever talked to you about Jay or said anything bad about him to you?
No, sir, you have not.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't do the making assumptions and making allegations stuff. Like, I literally go out of my way to avoid drama. Um, that's like I'm like one of the only ones, you know, in this whole little group that doesn't try to troll people or offend people or send like stupid memes and Discord chats. Like, I literally just mind my own business and make videos, and every now and then I'll go on and a live stream and talk about something, you know. And so I thought me and Jay were friends, but if he's that paranoid, and like, I mean, this is like almost bordering on like schizo territory, honestly. So
Yeah,
if
yeah.
he's
I
that,
mean, it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's on here even talking about him. Right? And even if we do mention him, it's not like in a serious negative light. We'll just say, yeah, he's going off of what he's saying. Hey, wish the best for the guy I do, but by saying the stuff he's saying, he's not on the right track. Same thing with Judah. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? They're not. Let me ask you a question, Rich. When did you and Jay like first become friends? When was that? Because I know
oh,
you introduced him to me in like late 2019. Is because at first, let me clarify for the audience. At first, me and Jay are actually enemies because, well, I think he did a couple of videos about me and I did one back at him. So we actually didn't like each other at first. But then in like 2020, late 2019, we actually became friends, So then a
well,
few years went by. I've had him on my panel 100 times or whatever, and yeah, and then recently within the last 2 years he started to go
look,
downhill as to now he don't really like me for whatever reason. Hey, if that's what he wants to view, I mean, he's welcome to view it that way.
look, man. So it was 2018, I believe. But here's the thing: I have two things I want to say because, like I said, I'm sure he's listening right now. As far as people saying that you like sneak diss people and you make references to them, um, you have for years now mentioned me in videos and critique things like when I used to say the Old Testament God was Satan, and like it didn't bother me at all, you know, because I'm a mature adult who understands that friends can criticize friends. Like, it's not a insult or anything. Like, it literally never bothered me, you know. Like it's not like you're trying to go out of your way to attack people, you know? Like
Right,
you're
right. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But some of these guys, I guess, are hard heading where they can't take a hard heading head. Am I saying that right? Hard headed is what I meant to say. Where they can't take a joke, right? Can't take a little jab at them. Not making fun of them, but I guess laughing with them. In some instances. You know what I'm saying? Like even Shrek, right? Like even minus Shrek, which I'll mention his origin in a minute. But even, him and me, we'd go back and forth sometimes, like jokingly. He'd be like, "Oh, well, ETT, yeah, yeah, he's against, such and such teaching, so, we're
yeah,
like frenemies, right? We disagree on some topics, but we respect each other's differences, right? So Minor Shireg, because a lot of people don't know, Minor Shireg wasn't part of the initial OG group. Not even Jay
yeah,
either, because Rich said that he met him in like 2018. But our friend group goes back to 2015, 2016, right? Our first circle of individuals, which again, the only three of us left today are the
yeah.
three of us on this panel from that
And,
original OG group. So Minor
can I say
Shireg,
something real fast?
Jay,
Yeah.
those guys were not part of that group back then. I met Mina Shreg in 2018, right? The same year that Ridge met Jay, right? So me and Shreg, we started to, have discussions, started to do streams together, and all that stuff. So that's when we became friends in 2018,
Yeah.
knew each other for years and years, streams together, whatnot. And then what happened to him while he fell off is he kept making predictions saying, "Oh, well, Christ will return by this day of this year." And he did it for like 2 years in a row, kept changing the dates. And we tried to tell the guy, "Hey, man, the text says nobody knows when this will happen. So, like, why do you keep going around saying it? Oh, there's a sequence that was found. There's a secret sequence he found that prove it." And he bugged himself out. He threw out all of his life possessions, his degrees,
Yeah.
and shit like that. And now he's like either living in his mom's basement or under a bridge or in India or something. But nobody's seen this guy in literally 3.5 years.
Well,
So he's just a good example of how not to be in this truth. The dude literally is homeless now due to his bad decisions over the years.
well, look, man. So here's the thing. The other thing, and like I said, I literally hate to even be talking like this because I'm literally the guy that minds my own business and tries to be friends with everybody. But when I'm having false accusations literally just texted to me just because I'm talking to people, I'm not going to tolerate that. You know what I mean? The other thing that he said is that just because I talk to you, that means I endorse. Um, and I'm going to be very careful how I word this. The book by the Robert Epstein, and I
Yeah,
followed that whole.
obviously, you know what I'm saying? He's just trying to be a troll, is what he's doing. I mean, we've
I
already
do,
established at the
but
beginning of
but
this conversation
but look,
that there's obviously difference in doctrines between the three of us, but we all learn to respect, each other's view. You know what
but
I'm
look,
saying? Like,
man, look,
I
man,
don't get why this is such a hard
look.
thing for this guy to get through his head.
Well, look. Here's what I want to say. It's all about like the tone of things. If you believe that I support something, or you believe that I'm conspiring against you or something, like just reach out to me, give me a phone call, and we can explain. Like I can explain everything. When you already assume and have your mind made up, and you just start texting me that, oh, you support this, you endorse this, just already you already have your mind made up without actually hearing me out, then like I don't tolerate that. You know what I mean?
Right, right. That's definitely, that's evil behavior. Hey, the scriptures say to understand first and then rebuke. So you have to
Yeah.
understand what somebody's saying before you, try to criticize or expose them. By the way, King Lion, if you want to add anything at any time, man, feel free to add to the discussion.
And I have one more thing to say about that, and then I'll like drop this because like literally for years, I've made videos about the dark web and going down all those rabbit holes with predators being catched and all. So like if people actually think, given all that, that I endorse any type of illegal behavior when, like, I've literally made it a big part of my YouTube channel to raise awareness about that stuff, then that's just absurd. Um, and also, I understand that you do not encourage any of this, and you're only saying from the Old Testament perspective, some of this stuff is not outlawed. That's your only point, right?
Well, I mean, I'd say it goes deeper than that, but the point of the message is clear that these things are taught in the Bible. And these guys, these clowns, like Jay, for example, they don't want to accept these factors. You know,
But
they
but
think that the way, well, let me finish real quick. They think that the way that life is in 2026, that things have always been this way. But literally, if they do a 2-minute Google search, you'd find out that things weren't even this way just 100 years ago, 150, 200 years ago. So, you know, these guys talking smack, you know, these guys are just men speaking out of their own minds and their own opinions. These are not people talking from the Bible, neither from science, from history, or biology. You know, so these guys are not worth the time. You know, a lot of these guys are just clearly brainwashed by the government to believe in these perspectives that they have, and that's my view on it.
but my point is, like, you've made it clear you would never do these things. You don't encourage people to do these things, and you're only going about it from a biblical point of view, right? So me associating with you doesn't mean that I endorse any of that, you know?
Right, right. Like say for instance, I'm not going to sit there and I've never sat there and told anybody to go out and, you know, break any laws in the land or country that they live in. I never said that. Now, I will say I do criticize these rules and regulations as unfair and oppressive and against the word of God. That is true, but I never told anybody to go out and to you know, violate them. That's never what I said. So anybody that's telling me that I've said that, that's clearly not what I've said. So again, a lot of guys are just, you know, throwing pissy fits because whatever the subject is hurts their feelings. That's what these guys are doing.
Yeah. And by the way, my whole family's over. I'm in my room. But if you hear any noise, that's why. And I do apologize. Sometimes I just don't get a break,
Right,
man.
that's okay.
Everybody
I
just can't keep their
understand.
mouths. Yeah.
Yeah, let me read a comment real quick put up by your brother Light in the Stark World. He said, in Russia, there is a talk to bring back traditional teen marriage to boost birth rates. And he said down here,
Let's
age
see
of
here.
consent is another tool for birth control. That's true. You know, the government's plan is to lower the population of the earth, right? Hell, that was on those guidestones, right? The Georgia guidestones that got taken down like 3-4 years ago. You know, that was on them stones. They want to deplete the human race to roughly 500 million people, you know, so they're doing everything they can in their power to decrease the birth rate. You know, they don't want people to have children young. They want you to wait till you're later in life. You got women out here waiting till their late 30s, early 40s before they settle down with a man and have a child. You know, that's unnatural. That's not how things naturally are. You know, throughout human history, it's always been natural for humans to marry young. You know, now I didn't tell nobody to do nothing, but that's just a fact. And anybody that dares to challenge me on that, I mean, you're just barking up the wrong tree. I mean, all it takes is a Google search, and everything I'm saying is clearly there. These guys are just raised in the 21st century, so that's why people are viewing, you know, these things the wrong way because they were all raised, you know, incorrectly. But you know, that's what we got to say about people like that. You know, some of these guys are just not worth the time, you know, to you know, try to engage with. You know, that's why I'm trying to, you know, separate myself from certain of these individuals,
Well,
you know, because it's not
I
really
just
worth
had
like,
to
okay.
you know, say that because I don't endorse any of that, and I know you don't as either. And me being friends with you and somebody I've been friends with, you know, for a decade now, um, doesn't mean that I'm involved in any drama and conspiring against anybody. And I honestly have no idea about any drama between you and Judah, and I mean you and King Lion and Jay. I stay out of all that stuff, and I thought I was friends with everybody, you know. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just try to
I
stay
hear
out of
you,
all
man.
that.
I think what he's doing is like a douchebag move to try to, put you in the middle of a
Yeah,
disagreement that you're not involved in. Like, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like as I said before, I'm friends with Ridge. If he wants to be friends with Judah or Jay, he can do that. I don't care. I mean, it doesn't affect me. Now, if you ask me, my thoughts about those guys, I already shared it.
yeah.
But, it's not my business who Ridge or Lion of Judah or King Lion is friends with. You know what I'm saying? It's none of my business who anybody is friends with. You know what I'm saying? So what he's talking about is just a douche move.
Um, King Lion, are you still there, brother?
Yeah, you're on mute, man.
Yeah,
We'll give him a minute. Maybe I had to step away for something. But
yeah.
yeah, man, it's I don't even remember the last time that we've had the three of us, on this panel together. You know what I'm saying? It
Oh yeah,
literally
it's
has to be like what, 8 years or something like that.
yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, man. It's bizarre to look back, at like the last 10 years, all the stuff that's happened, man. It's really bizarre to look back on. You know what I'm saying? Like hell, I remember sitting there, in like 2016, 2017. We all would, do these live discussions like what, maybe twice or three times a week, something like that, man.
Oh yeah,
And it's
man, and there were um at one point I can't remember what year this was, but like the mind of God, like probably four times a week, man, and we would talk, and I feel so bad for him. You could just tell mentally his hatred for the world and the current way everything's going was just getting worse and worse, and like I definitely feel him there. I think we both understand, but you could just tell how bad it was getting. And I don't know, man, he genuinely might not be with us anymore. I hate to say that.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
as I said, nobody knows what happened to that guy. I definitely wish him the best of luck, wherever he is. I hope he's still, on this earth somewhere. So wherever
Yeah,
he is, I hope him the, best of luck. But it's really sad his downfall. It was really sad what happened to that guy. And, we tried to warn this guy. We tried to help this guy, like saying, hey man, you should stop, throwing everything that you own away, diplomas
yeah,
and quitting working and and all this stuff and pretending that Jesus is coming back next month. I mean,
yeah.
come on, man. You got to get yourself together a little bit. So it's
And
really unfortunate what happened to him. But you know what? The best thing that we can do moving forward, unfortunately, but is use him as a example of how not to be. So other people don't go down that bad path that he went on.
yeah, man, and I don't know if when he threw his diplomas away, if that was like some sign of trying to kill his pride and ego or something. But like, um, and I don't have any biblical stuff to back this up with, but I'm sure you would agree with me. Like, obviously pride in the sense that like, oh, I'm superior to everybody else is a sin. But like, I don't think us appreciating our accomplishments and being proud of ourselves in that way is a sin. Like, I think God wants us to, you know, pat ourselves on the back when we do something really good and work hard.
Right, right. I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah,
There's clearly a difference between somebody being proud of, certain things they accomplished, versus somebody that's going around, pretending that they never sin ever again in
yeah,
their life. They're
yeah,
better than somebody. Like I had somebody in my comment board the other day who was trying to say, oh, well, he never sins, he never does anything wrong. Other people are doing things, terribly or whatever, but he himself has never done a single sin in the last 35 years. I mean, that's a proud person right there, that he's never committed a single sin in 35 years. I mean, that's a
That's
prideful person right
hilarious.
there. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, and I don't know if like that's what this guy was or not, but there's like people out there who think once you're saved or whatever, you can't commit sin because like it's already been forgiven or whatever. And like there's also that verse that all things are
Are lawful, all things are not
yeah
expedient.
yeah like obviously in my opinion like that was written in the sense of like drinking some alcohol or something like that. Obviously it's not talking about you can go kill people and it's not recommended, but it's
Right,
not a
and
sin. Obviously
adultery and
that's not what I'm saying.
idolatry. Obviously, it's not that. But let's shut down this whole false doctrine with one verse. If they claim it's impossible to sin after you believe in Christ ever, well, there's a
Yeah,
problem, because it says in Hebrews 10:26, if you continue to willfully sin after you believe, then there remains no more sacrifice for your sin. But did you catch it though? It said if you continue to willfully sin after you believe. So wait, doesn't that prove it's possible to sin after you believe then?
yeah,
That's a mic drop
exactly.
moment right there. One more point. Well, actually, two more points. In Revelation, the second chapter, Christ confronts multiple churches of believers and tells them to repent of actions they are doing. So isn't that an example of believers, right? Christians committing sin and Christ telling them to repent? I'll give a bonus example. In Acts, the fifth chapter, Ananias and his wife, they lied to the apostles about how much money they sold their land for, because they were supposed to give it in contribution to the church for their needs, right? So they lied
Yeah,
about how much money they got for their land, so God struck them dead. Well, why did he do that? Well, because they lied. It literally says, well, God's going to kill them because they lied to the church. So, like, isn't that not enough proof that people can believe and still commit sin? I mean, to anybody that is a naysayer to that, just doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. But anyway, King Lion, you've been waiting patiently, man. Do you have something to say? I saw that he's unmuted, so I want to give him a
yeah.
chance.
And I have a question for you as well, King Lon.
What's the question?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he has a problem with the microphone or
Yeah.
something. Lion, if you have to drop and come back, I can put a link for you if you need to, man.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, sir. We can hear you.
What's the question?
Oh, so my question was, I remember, man, years and years ago, you made a video, a live stream. You might have made a few videos about this, saying that Jerusalem was mystery Babylon. I'm sure you don't believe that anymore, but I'm just curious, like, what do you think about that, and what made you think that? Because like those videos are gone now,
Well, I was young when I made those videos. We all grow in the faith, and it's very obvious that if you study the scriptures, there's no way Jerusalem can be Babylon.
Yeah, man. Like
Because in the
I'm
end
not bringing it up
times,
to call you out or anything. Like I was just genuinely curious, like how you came to that conclusion. Because like there's so many different things people say is mystery Babylon, and I just found it interesting.
I believe America's Babylon. That's what
Yeah,
I believe. It hasn't changed since.
yeah. So do I at this point. Yeah.
Just a quick question for you both. Did you guys see the live debate that me and Rock Upon Him did in person 6 years ago?
Yeah, I watched the day that it came out, actually.
Yeah, what do y'all think of that discussion?
Oh, I still haven't watched it actually.
Yeah, well, what are you waiting for, man? It's been 6 years. You should check that
I
out.
don't know, man. I've like it's been on like my list or whatever, but I just never watched it.
Well, I'd recommend checking it out, man. You know, you're missing a good conversation. And you guys want to know the weird part about it is here's a little backstory, right? So me and Rock Upon Him, we were trying to set up a discussion like in real life to meet for like literally 5 years, and we never got around to doing it. And lo and behold, I was in the process of moving across the country. I literally brought, you know, the moving truck to my house, was packing it, you know, about to go to the storage to undo that. And
Yeah.
guess who shows up at my door? Randomly, my buddy Mark and John show up at my door. I had to do a double take. I was like, wait, what the hell? What the hell? They showed up at my door like literally the day before I'm leaving to go across the country. So I was in disbelief about that. So, you know, I took like 5 hours out my day to go hang out with them. You know, we had, you know, I had some fun, you know, off camera, you know, chats and discussions. And you know, we
Yeah.
recorded like 3 videos together, you know, because we only had limited time that day. But you know, just weird how things turn out like that sometimes. Literally, if they came the next day, I wouldn't be there. If they came an hour earlier, I would have been not home because I went to get the truck. You know, so just weird somehow how these things turn out, you know, sometimes in life. But anyway, you know, it was
Yeah.
a good conversation. Me and Rock had, obviously we disagree, of course, but you know, it was a respectful conversation, you know. So yeah, you know, that's the little backstory behind that.
So was it the other guy who was behind the camera when y'all were talking? Like I saw like the pictures, and I clicked on it, and saw like a little bit of like the video, like you guys were talking at like a tennis court. I think, was he the one videoing it?
Well, who, the Mark?
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, that's a friend of mine. I don't think any of you know who that is. That's a friend I've had since I was like 9 years old. He comes around here once in a great while, but you know, he's not really active on here. You know, he's
You
just a
know,
friend in
I
the world that
believe
I have.
I believe I actually did talk to him a few times. And this was back when like all the fart troll stuff was going on, and I asked him if he
Yeah.
thought John was behind it, and I can't remember what he said, but I think he implied that he was behind some of the what was it, the My Little Pony or whatever. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some trolling there, um, with some of the YouTubers in that space.
Yeah, I hear you. You know, so to talk about that for a second, I do believe that John, right, Rock Upon Him, I believe he was behind a lot of this trolling, but it's very obvious that there's another figure that was involved with the
Oh
whole
yeah,
scheme behind the scenes that none of us know who it is.
yeah,
Yeah,
man. Like
that's my theory on it, you
yeah,
know, and Bridge can elaborate on it, but you know, I think if we just look at the fact that sometimes this troll will come around even when Rock's on the stage, well, that proves he can't be really, you know, doing both of them at the same time if he's up here with us. And then the fact that it's, you know, constantly multiple times a day put up
yeah.
for multiple years. I mean, it just bears evidence that there's another person that he's working with behind the scenes. As to
And
who, I can't say.
and look, like that troll even trolled Rock Upon Him, and like you could say, well, Rock Upon Him was doing damage control and making fart videos on himself, but like the troll went really far, and was like actually harassing Rock Upon Him and putting things out there about him that I don't think Rock Upon Him would do to himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. It seemed like somebody was there, you know, coming after everybody, it seems.
Oh yeah, and he that individual was trying to spin everybody against each other. Remember the Cole Casper Ashby threat thing? The person purposely downloaded like a English accent AI thing to frame King Lon, and like it was obvious that was what was going on. But Cole Casper heard it, and he was like, "This is King Lon, or the Loving Christian," what he went by back then.
Right. And what about the whole Samantha account? You know what I'm talking about?
I remember a little bit about that, but there was also this idiot that went by the name of Donnie Darko, and that moron would always comment stuff about me, and he would never respond to my comments. I asked him over and over, like, let's have a talk about this. If you believe I'm behind all this, let's talk. And he would never respond. So, like, that tells me it's just another fake account of, like, the Rubens. And I don't know, man. It's a weird thing. But Samantha dated John, right?
Well, again, it's a little, cloudy here, for lack of better terms. Don't really know what to say. It seems like it's a troll account they're using. They're trying to get people to, like send pictures of themselves, to this fake account so they can, spread them around the internet about them. That's what it seems to me. I asked multiple different people, and multiple people telling me, yeah, got messaged by this Samantha person, recommend, blocking them. So
Yeah,
probably just another, troll tactic that they're trying to use. Like basically like how today there's this what is this called? Sextortion, I believe it's called, where these
yeah,
African scammers try to get you to, get in a relationship with them, for a few weeks, then they'll take some, private pictures of you and tell you, hey, well, you better give me this amount of money or I'll send this to everybody on Instagram. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? So it's
yeah,
probably something like that, so it's just wise to, avoid, sending, stuff like that about yourself on the internet. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, and especially now, because, like, you know, before the last 2 years or so, if you met a girl online and got in a relationship with her, you know, um, for people our age, I mean, it is easy, to find out if they're real or not, especially if they have, like, social media. You can go on and look at their last name and find their family members and be like, okay, this is a real person. This is their family. It's where they live. But, like, now, the AI can actually create um, completely fake people. And they look real. It's scary stuff, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, shit. I even have people going around saying, "Well, hey, this guy might be AI." Like I did a video where you see me sitting there in the garage talking to the camera, and one guy that
Yeah,
was watching was like, "This guy is AI." It's like, well, what makes you think that I'm AI exactly, if you don't mind me asking? He didn't really know, but it shows you that
yeah,
you're at the point now where you can't really tell the difference between real life and AI at points. Man, but I was thinking back, to like 2016, there wasn't this shit wasn't going on back then, right? Like, there sure maybe here or there was some type of AI stuff, but it wasn't anywhere near as advanced as they have it, in 2026.
Oh
You
no, and
know,
like the
go ahead.
deep fakes and like these, now, like, they can make whole entire fake music videos, fake songs, fake movies. Um, that that wasn't even a thing back then. Like, AI has progressed to a crazy level, man.
Right, right. I hear you. I hear you. I remember back then, weren't we using an app to stream? Was it called the what was that app called we used back then? Was it Google Hangouts we used to stream back then?
Yeah, man, Google Hangouts. Yeah, we're going. Man, that's nostalgic.
Yeah, yeah. I remember the green font of it,
Yep.
going on there. Definitely nostalgic. That
Yeah.
doesn't even exist anymore, right? It's like totally deleted or something.
Yeah, I think I think they replaced Google Hangouts with, like, Google Meet is what they call it now.
Oh, okay, okay.
But yeah, Google Hangouts, I think they completely got rid of it. Um, which sucks because, you know, some people probably lost, like, their online friends, and can't get back in contact with them.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. That's why sometimes it's good to socialize on like multiple different
Oh yeah, yeah,
apps and stuff. Like, yeah, I'd
yeah,
recommend for King Lion, man, I'd recommend you try to set up a Discord account. Doesn't mean you have to make a server, but you could join people's servers, just another easier way to, contact people if you need to. So I'd recommend checking that out, man.
yeah.
But yeah, man, it's a lot of stuff, looking back on the last, 10 years or whatever, which really for me, this year I'm coming up on 12 years, in the truth, because I've been in the truth since I was 12 years old, right? Started teaching on YouTube when I was 14, but I've been
Yeah,
in the truth since I was 12 years old. So for me, it's been like about roughly 12 years for me now.
yeah.
So
And I was even younger, man. Like got into it probably at like 9 and started making videos at 11.
yeah, it's crazy, man. I hear you.
Yeah,
So how
you
many
know,
years
and
would you say it is for you then?
well, I'm 21 right now, so
Okay.
um probably like 12 years as well.
Yeah, yeah. As I said, man, we deserve more credit than what people, give us. Like say for instance, like I have people come by, like I believe there's this one clown that calls himself Troy Taylor, right? He's like some type of like old boomer or something. And he
Hmm.
always says, "Oh, well, you young guys don't know what you're talking about. All America's, so great. No evil. All Jesus loves
Yeah,
everybody. Y'all don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Well, excuse me, sir. Well, for one, I'd invite you to come up here and have a conversation with me, but of course, you don't really have a spine to do that,
yeah,
my friend. And then second of all, it's not like I just came up 2 years ago and started teaching. I have literally over a decade of experience of speaking about what I talk about. You know what I'm saying? And it's just weird to me as well. Like I watch some of these other platforms on YouTube and you see these like boomers on there, people in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s talking to people. And everybody's, yelling, bickering, there's no order. And then we're up here able to respectfully disagree and still, get along and have a conversation. Like I did a discussion yesterday with a guy, I believe his name was like Priest R War or something like that. We definitely disagreed, but we were able to have a respectful conversation. You know what I'm saying? So
well,
it's just go
um
ahead.
yeah, that's the problem with people today. Is it's like, you know when people go to insults and cussing people out and mocking people, for having a different opinion, it's like that just proves you're all emotion, right? That what they said hurt your feelings, and your response is to freak out and try to just basically throw a temper tantrum, right? But if you're actually smart and you actually think about it, that is getting nobody nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, um, the best way to go about it would be to have a conversation. That's the only way you can possibly change somebody's mind.
Right, right, absolutely. Like I tell people like on Discord, instead of typing back and forth for, 3 hours about the disagreement, why don't we just hop on to, either StreamYard and talk, or y'all could even go
Yeah.
on the calling service on the Discord for free and chat. Like, what's the point of just typing for 2 or 3 hours if you can just have a 30-minute conversation?
Well,
It saves
you know,
everybody
man,
time and energy.
that's one of the sad things. There's been times where I've had uh, like a problem with somebody, and we would argue about it all the time. But when we finally just had a phone call, we were able to clarify everything so easily. Because when you text, tone, sorry, what I'm
Oh, he dropped. Let me put another link for him in a chat. I'll bring him back up here. Bear with me for a second. Maybe that brother hit the wrong um button. Yo, King Lion, you there, man? All right, we'll give him a minute. We'll give him a minute. Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah,
All right, yeah, yeah. You have something to say, man?
not really.
Did you see the video I did in response to that GMS narrators clown the other day?
Hey man, I apologize. I accidentally clicked the exit button.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. But I'll re-ask because you're here. Have you guys seen that video I did in response to that GMS South Carolina clown the other week?
No, man, I don't really follow GeoMess or know much about that or watch your videos about it.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I'll just refresh so y'all know. So there's this like clown that like doesn't like me for some reason because a couple years ago, all I did to him was I just criticized him for having a globe icon as his picture. So like every time now somebody mentions my name to him, the guy has like a panic attack and meltdown in public. Like I mean, it's absolutely hilarious. And the guy did like a short about me or something on the stream. Someone asked him what he thought about me, and he was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, well, that guy, false prophet, he's, speaking lies, terrible person, he's friends with Vocab Malone and those Sicarios." It's like I'm thinking to myself, like, what the hell is this dummy talking about? Like what is the purpose of like sitting here and lying on people like
Yeah,
that? Like literally like 99% of the shit this guy said is literally not true. You know what I'm
but
saying? It's like what the hell's wrong with this guy?
has he ever had a call with you about it?
No, the dude won't do that, right? The dude, if say for instance, if I invite him, well, first of all, he won't even respond to me, of course, but I already can see that he wouldn't come up to have a conversation because those guys really don't do that. Right? They don't really, engage in conversations, which is weird
Right,
because it's
right.
like, but wait, well, why are you guys out there trying to interact with the public if you guys don't want to have conversations with people that come up and want
Yeah,
to talk to you? You know what I'm saying? Like what sense does that make?
yeah, man, and that's the thing, man. What I was saying before I accidentally exit out is like I would have text, disagreements or problems with people for a long time, and when we finally had a phone call, it cleared it all up because when people text, you can't read their tone of voice and the way they're trying to portray things, right? Because humans, we're not meant to text. Like we're meant to talk, and that's how we solve things. You know?
Right, right. And you know what? While you're mentioning that, like I tried to do the same thing with Jay, for a while he was going back and forth in the comments. And I
Yeah,
said, well, you know what, man? Well, just hop up on stream and let's have a discussion about it. So we talk for maybe an hour and then he jumps off and the dude's still, talking shit about me. It's like, dude, what's going on, man? I mean, we had a discussion, we respectfully disagreed, but what's with all the disrespect? Like what is the problem, man? You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like
Well,
I just don't get why some people act so childish like that. It's just really laughable.
me and him had a call yesterday, and everything was just fine. And he texted me yesterday, upset that I had a that I joined the live stream with you because y'all been having issues, and we had a call, and everything went just fine. And now he's back at it again.
Yeah, and you know what I'm saying? Like I just find it weird. Like it's like, Jay, well, what is the problem with Rich coming up and talking to me? Well, first of all, Jay, me and Rich have known each other longer than he's known you for, my guy, right? So our history goes further back by a handful of years. You know what I'm saying?
And
So
and
I don't
and
get why old friends can't have a conversation with one another. You know what I'm saying? Like
and
that just doesn't logically make
like
sense.
I like I said, I've asked you before. I've never talked to you one time about Jay or said anything negative about him to you, have I?
No, you have not.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, I just, I'm not a big fan of making assumptions about people, and texting them that are you
Yeah, and you know
conspiring
what? And,
against
and
me?
believe it or not, I'm the same way as well. Like, say for instance, like somebody said in the comments, "Oh, well, Jay's teaching to like sacrifice to Odin or something like that," and I said, "You know what? I can't say anything about that because I've never seen him say that. I've never seen the guy say anything like that, so I
Yeah,
can't confirm that. So I'm not going to sit here and condemn him for that because I've never seen him talk about it." Or I'll give
right.
another example. Like, even though I don't like Perry Green, but somebody said, "Oh, well, Perry, that guy abuses his children and his wife." I mean, well, hey, look, I've never seen proof that the guy is doing anything to his children or his wife, so I'm not going to sit here and lie on him if I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah.
he's doing any of that. So you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit there and lie on the guy with no proof or evidence. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
other people just go around, they'll hear like a rumor that somebody says about somebody and they'll go around preaching that like a gospel. You know what I'm saying? It's just pathetic how dumb people are on the internet today.
Yeah, and like it makes sense if you're sorry, let me get a sip of my drink here. It makes sense, if you're concerned or skeptical about something, like that's fine. Like I'm fine with somebody being concerned about me. Like, if you think I've done something or whatever, then we can talk about it. But when you come at me already assuming that I did, right, without giving me the benefit of the doubt, then that's an issue,
Yeah, just like remember that woman who called into like a couple streams ago, accused me of being disrespectful to somebody they know on live stream. And I asked, well, can you enlighten me as to what you're accusing me of? And she's like, oh, I don't even know. Well, then how the hell are you going to be up here and tell me shit about it if you admit that you yourself don't even know? It's like, what the
Yeah.
hell? You know what I'm
That's
saying?
ridiculous.
It's totally ridiculous. Like, if you're gonna accuse somebody of something, well, shouldn't you know in your own damn head as to what it is you're gonna say?
Hmm.
Not just come up here and act like Patrick, all, duh, I don't know. I mean, come on,
Hmm.
it's just, I can't believe some people out here, man. Like some people have the brain the size of a walnut, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, King
Yeah.
Lion, feel free to chime in, man. I don't know if you're having a mic issue on your end, because when you unmute, we can't really hear you. So, but if you want to chime in, just feel free. Yo, what's going on, Dirty Varmint? And by the way, all in for y'all in the back chat, I can't bring you up here today because this is only a exclusive live stream for my OG buddies from 2016. So this is not an open panel today. So this is only for the three of us up here. So I do apologize to you, but this is not an open panel stream today. But you're welcome to listen to the discussion.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I don't want to stop being friends with Jay. We've been friends for a long time, and like, even though he made these assumptions about me or whatever, like that's like we can move past this easily. It's not an issue to me, but I just hope he doesn't continue thinking things about me. But if he does, it would suck to lose him as a friend, but it is what it is because I didn't do anything to him,
Right. But you see, Reg, here's what you have to think, because I'm in the same shoes. I didn't do anything to this guy. All I did was say, hey, man, if you're going around saying, this about Adolf and that, I mean, hey, you're welcome to go believe that, man, but you can't claim you follow Christ and, this maniac, or the Satan is a woman. Well, the Bible says that Satan is a man or a he or a him. So you know what I'm saying? So don't get mad at me for just sitting up here and correcting you, trying to put you on the right path. If you want to disagree, well, then you disagree. But, I don't think I deserve to be, trash talked the way I am for literally doing nothing wrong. And you know what? I don't want to have to, not be friends with the guy. Because again, I've known this guy for like
Yeah.
7 years. But you know what? I can't, continue to be friends with somebody that's so warped in the mind like that. Same thing with Judah. The dude's, oh well, he's now a Satanist. It's like I'll tell you all an example, right? Like I was chatting with him on the text on Discord when he told me he became a Satanist, right? He said, oh man, I like recently became a Satanist, everybody's turning on me, but I'm glad I have you as a friend, he said. And I was straightforward with him. I said, hey man, you know, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but if you claim to be a worshiper of Satan, I can't be your friend as a minister of God. Now, I'm open to having a discussion with you on stream if you'd like to call in, sure.
Well, I
But
mean, I think you
I
could
can't
still be
label
his
myself
friend,
as
but
a well. Let me finish real quick. But I can't label myself as a friend with a Satanist as a minister of God. Mike Shears.
well, like I mean, even like Jesus hung out with I shouldn't say hung out with, but like, he associated with prostitutes and all types of people.
Well, the Bible says that we're not supposed to have any fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness. So someone that worships the devil, we shouldn't consider them to be a friend of us if we are Christian, right? Followers of Christ. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's obvious to see. Like,
Well,
I'll give you an example. Like, I know people who are rainbow. Now, I don't
yeah,
consider them to be a friend, but I might have to say I might have to work with that person, or they might be a neighbor. Or, if I go to some event, I might have to, speak with them for a few hours or whatever. So I don't consider them to be a friend because they're living in wickedness. But, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be just disrespectful, to them when I see them. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. But yeah, like, back to Jay or whatever. Like, I'm a nice guy, man. Me and you've because of the fart troll. We had issues in the past. Remember, and you thought that I was the hacker and whatever, and
Right.
it's like, man, everything's good. Like, I don't hold grudges or anything against people, so I mean, I don't have any issue. I want to be Jay's friend, but um, him assuming that I'm conspiring against him when I'm not, it's just, I wish he wouldn't think that way.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you, man. But sometimes these guys are just, being unreasonable, right? Unreasonable men. Like, say, for instance, if you ask him, because he's listening, but if you ask him for why he's saying that, the dude's clueless. He's just making a assumption out of thin air. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And that's not what a righteous man does. That's not what a good man does. Is to just lie about people, slander people, and make assumptions about people. That's what a wicked person does. So I hope that he and everybody else repents of that type of behavior that they're, behaving in. Like, I'll give an example. Like, if we go back a couple of years, I know that King Lion, he did, a handful of live streams about me for like a month or two. And it's like,
yeah,
okay, yeah, at the time, we didn't get along. Wouldn't necessarily call us enemies, but didn't get along at the time. But you know what? Here we are a few years later. Hey, it's okay. Sometimes you got to forgive people for doing, things, wrong to you. And that's what Christ is about, forgiving people for the wrong that they do to you sometimes.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So you got to, like, look at that. There's people in the chat down below. Oh, ETT is, with this or that. I mean, hey, well, you don't have any proof of that. You're just making assumptions about people and lying on people. And guess what?
yeah,
All of you guys doing that, if you don't repent from that behavior, God's going to judge you for that. So I
yeah.
advise y'all to, stop going around, slandering or lying on people, because if you don't stop, you're going to get judged for that in the end. And I don't want that to happen to you, but, if that's the actions that you want to live by, the choice is yours.
Yeah, and making assumptions is just as bad as straight up accusing, because like, making assumptions and just being like, well, it looks weird, or I think something might be going on. I'm not accusing you, but I mean, yes, you are. You are accusing me. Like, you're just hiding behind, wordplay and whatnot. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right. Like I'll give an example. Like, I was at the mall one time, and I had to I was trying out some new gloves that I just got, like, in the mall, right? So I was standing by the car, examining my gloves and whatnot. And somebody pulled by me and said, "Hey, man, are you trying to steal this car?" And I said, "No, no, man. I'm just checking out these gloves that I just purchased inside of the mall here.
Yeah.
Apologize if it looks like that. So the person made a assumption just because I'm checking out my new gloves next to the car. Oh, well, I must be trying to steal the vehicle then. You know what I'm saying? So they just made the assumption and, accused me of doing something that I'm not doing.
Yeah, man, and speaking of that, with malls and stuff, and sometimes like mall cops can be bad. One of my friends told me this story where he saw this like funny looking car in the mall parking lot. And he took out his phone to take a picture of it, and the mall cop was like, "That's private property. You can't take a picture of private property." And it's like mall cops and a lot of cops don't even know their own law, and like that's why I love watching these auditor videos. And I've thought about starting to do that myself. There's surveillance cameras 24/7 working literally everywhere you go. You're on camera. You can legally record in public, and it's so funny how cops don't even know that.
Yeah, I hear you. But yeah, King Lion, man, I don't know if you're still there or something, man. If you want to chime in, as I said earlier, feel free to add on to the discussion if you like. Um, but yeah, man, it's hard to fathom, all the stuff that's happened over the last, decade. Like, I'll give an example. Like, I remember back in 20 was it late 2018, early 2019, Kyle did a live stream where like you and Rock and Kyle were on there, talking
Yeah,
about him being a troll and whatnot. And I re-looked at it the other day and I couldn't believe it said 7 years ago. I was thinking to myself, what the hell,
wow.
7 years ago? I remember sitting there at my desk watching it live, the conversation. I remember sitting
Yeah,
there watching it live. How the hell is that 7 years ago from now? Unbelievable.
yeah, man. It is crazy.
But I happen to agree with a lot of people like on TikTok out here saying, everything's changed, everything's different now, ever since 2020, and of course we got to use coded language here so the video don't get flagged. But it really does seem like everything mostly did go downhill, ever since 2020, like every aspect, of life or society or, the world in general, has went downhill, and that's just what it is.
Yeah, and I feel like people have gotten a lot meaner since 2020, and cold-hearted. And I think we all know what it has to do with, right? But yeah, that's something I've noticed.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, man. It's
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? The thing that people got in 2020.
yeah. Oh, and that's one of the things that tried to like bug Minor Shreg out because he went around trying to say, "Oh, well, that's the MOTB, right?
Yeah,
MOTB, right?
yeah, yeah,
Revelation 13:16."
yeah,
We tried to tell the guy, "Hey, look, man, it doesn't match what it says." Like, say for instance, nobody's ever asked me when I went into a grocery store, "Oh, do I have this or that to purchase an item like the prophecy
yeah,
said would be required." So it's not what the Bible's talking about. You see, the problem with some of these guys is they're just trying to make everything play out in their time span is what they're trying to do. Right? Like he wanted Christ to return in like 2022, 2023. And so that didn't happen. Well, now he's, somewhere else, maybe a Hindu now or whatever, but he don't believe in the Bible anymore because it
well,
doesn't
man.
happen in his timeline that he thought that it would.
Well, man, remember back in the day, it was every September 23rd, and they used that verse from Revelation. And correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't they still doing that every September 23rd?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've been up to date with what's going on YouTube, man, but I mean, I don't know if you've looked into this, but literally just recently, this last September, that there was this guy in West Africa named Brother Joshua, some type of pastor, and he went around telling people, well, yeah, God showed him that the rapture will happen on September 23rd, 2025. And then hundreds of thousands of people around the world lost their minds and believed this guy, sold their cars, gave their children away, sold their houses, emptied their bank accounts because they were all convinced that the rapture would happen on the
Yeah.
23rd. In fact, I even debated a person who full-heartedly believes this, and to this very day keeps going out putting a rapture prediction for each week. So I try to tell these people, it's like, dummies, do you not know that people have literally been saying this shit about the same day for literally 10 or 15 years, and it doesn't happen? It's like, why are y'all people just so
Yeah.
damn slow in the head?
Well, Um, a good part of the whole thing is that a lot of people, including myself, want to see everything unfold in the world end. And so, they give their hopes up, and just giving your hopes up and getting all excited and convincing yourself something's about to happen, it can really play with your mind. And it's sad because, yeah, now that I think about it, they did do it last September 23rd. As a matter of fact, there were people that were on TikTok and whatnot, showing that they sold their car and all their earthly possessions or gave it away, um, thinking they're going to go up in the rapture.
Yeah, yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like, well, first of all, didn't Christ say that nobody knows the day or the hour that it's going to happen? So, like,
Yeah,
what makes you think that some dummy on TikTok like magically knows the day and the hour?
yeah, and it's weird. It's like, wouldn't you think it's not going to be on September 23rd if people say it every year? Like they got it wrong every other year. What's the difference this year?
Right, right. It seems like for a lot of events, like people go around say that. Like you might remember the April, what is it, April 8th eclipse. People were saying,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
well, the rapture might happen with this eclipse. The rapture might happen. Hell, I had to do a whole hour long presentation, laughing at these individuals. It's like, dummy,
yeah,
it ain't gonna happen.
and
They said the same shit about that 2017 eclipse over America, and it didn't happen. Y'all are just going around making assumptions when the Bible directly answers the question. It literally tells you in, was it Matthew 24:29? It says, immediately after the tribulation of those days, the Son of Man would return and send his angels to gather together his elect. Not before, not in the middle. It says afterwards.
yeah, man, and then you also got, and this has been going on for a long time. Every president or every world leader, every pope being the Antichrist.
Yeah, yeah, like Rock Upon Him was into that. Like he was saying, oh, yeah, Pope Francis. Well, that guy is the Antichrist. He's the
Well, he said,
Antichrist.
I believe he said Pope Francis was Mystery Babylon.
No, he says that the Vatican City is Mystery
Oh,
Babylon, and
well,
that
so
Pope Francis is the
somebody said Pope Francis was Mystery Babylon.
well, whoever said that is heavily mistaken because it's a city, it's an actual place, not a person. Whoever said that is dumb. But as far as
Yeah,
Rock, I know because I've debated him about the subject a handful of times. He says that the Vatican City is Mystery Babylon, and that the Vatican Pope, which was Pope Francis, was the Antichrist. And to be fair, that's a Seventh-day Adventist doctrine, so
yeah,
perhaps he was just taught that at church, and that's
yeah,
why he believes it,
and
because they teach
man,
that shit there.
man, like I genuinely thought that Pope Francis was going to be the last pope because there was a lot of predictive programming and a lot of weird stuff about it, and you know how I feel about Trump, so I was like, yeah, this is probably going to be the last pope, but he wasn't. And one of the things people would talk about is like Nostradamus, the predictor, and he said that I believe whatever title, whatever inline Pope Francis was, that like that would be the last Pope, and of course, he got that wrong, right? And that's the thing with like these prophets and whatnot, like Nostradamus. They're just people. So
Right, right. It'd be funny to see Rock's opinion now about the Pope of Rome. Well, what is this guy, Pope Leo the
yeah,
14th?
yeah,
Right. If I had to take a guess, I would say that he's going to say that that's now the Antichrist too, and then I'll say it about the next Pope after this one. You know what I'm saying? It's just ridiculous.
yeah. Um, what's the most out there theory or claim that you've heard? That would probably be mine. I remember somebody saying that Pope Francis was Mystery Babylon.
Well, so your question was, what I think is like the most out there theory I've
Yeah,
heard?
yeah. And
Oh man,
what's your thoughts
there's a
on that
lot.
theory?
Okay, well, I'll answer the second question first. My thoughts on the theory about Pope Francis or any pope being Babylon. Well, that's just obviously ridiculous because it's not a person, it's a city, it's an actual physical place. So
Right.
whoever said that is just mentally,
Yeah.
unwell to make a statement like that. Now, to answer the other question about the weirdest I've ever heard, well, there's a lot of contenders like the dinosaur hoax, nuke hoax, the full preterism. But if I had to
Yeah.
pick one that seems the strangest to me, I think I'd have to pick the theory that these guys go online and say that they don't believe any, airplanes were used on September 11th. I find that to be the most outlandish belief because, well, there's so much evidence that it was. These guys are just lying through their teeth, for lack of better terms. Like, but how the hell are you going to sit there and say all the footage is edited? I mean, for one, tens of thousands of people seen it with their own
Yeah.
eyes. And then two, there's hundreds and hundreds of videos from civilians who captured this
Yeah.
on their cameras. Like, how are
Well,
you going to pretend that all that's not real?
there is a video circulating showing no airplanes, but like that can be edited so easily.
Yeah,
You know?
couldn't we just assume that that video's the fake, ironically enough?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that would be a better assumption to make it. This person just put this out there to get some fame or to get people
Yeah.
talking on their comment thread compared to, the hundreds of other videos from hundreds and hundreds of different civilians, that they didn't fake it. It's just
Well, the
that's just what
thing
it is.
is, we're talking about New York City, and that is like one of the most populated places. So you would have to say that the government paid like hundreds of thousands of people, oh, like thousands of dollars to lie about that, and that none of them told anybody. The government paid me to say I seen planes. Like that is ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. It's an absolutely just dumb belief to have. Like again, I
Yeah.
literally had a debate with somebody about this topic. The guy was like so convinced that he was right. He was like, "Well, there were no planes used, man. They just faked the footage." Like I shown the guy a video clip from like people down at the what is it, the Hudson River there on like
Yeah.
some of them ships watching. And I asked him, well, what do you think about this? You see the plane literally come overhead and strike the tower. And you hear the
Yeah.
people, in a panic. And he was like, well, they all seem like a bunch of crisis actors to me. I say to myself, well, what the hell do you expect people to act if they just seen an event like this that's never happened before? But like, what do
Right.
you expect them to just sit there and say, whatever? Of course,
Yeah,
people are going
man.
to be in panic, and not know what the hell to do. Some of them might know people in there, dummy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
and,
like some
and
of these
and
people on YouTube are just talking out of their ass like a damn fool. That's what they're doing.
and me and you, neither one of us. I think I know I don't. I'm positive you don't either believe the entire official story about it, but that doesn't
Yeah,
mean.
obviously there was
Yeah.
some fishy stuff involved, of course, but that doesn't mean that no airplanes were used. And that's
Yeah.
the main point.
Yeah.
What would be a more logical argument somebody could say is to try to argue that maybe the airplanes they either had like some type of device on them to increase the damage or they could argue or maybe there weren't passengers on it. Both of
Yeah, like
those,
they
which
were
I'm
remote
not
controlled.
claiming.
Yeah.
Well, hear me out real quick. I'm not claiming to those theories, but I'm saying that would be a more logical argument that somebody could make compared to saying, well, the airplanes were just not real. I mean, that's just a ridiculous and retarded statement to make. That's just
Yeah.
clearly not true.
Well, man, my phone is about to die, bro. I'll talk to you later.
All right, that's cool, Ridge. Thanks for
Yeah,
stopping by, man. It was a good
of course,
conversation.
man. Thank you. Bye, brother.
All right, take care. Okay, so a good chat, with Ridge Napper and King Lion. No, I haven't talked to King Lion, and I want to say like 4 years. It's been since we've had a live stream discussion with each other. Yeah, it's been roughly 4 years. That's yeah, it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe it's been 4 damn years the last time I had that guy on my podcast. But it was a good discussion. We'll have to do it another time in the future. Yeah, again, a lot of, our new viewers here on this channel, don't know that, basically I myself, Ridge, and King Lion, we're like the only real, original guys from like our main group back in like 2015, 2016. We had a couple other individuals such as Kyle, aka the Vigilant Soldier, Rock Upon him, um, and a handful of other people, over the over the years were back then too. Um, but really, the only ones remaining today is just the three of us. The other guys, like Kyle, nobody's seen that dude anywhere. As far as Rock Upon him, he is a father now and has children, so he doesn't really do anything on YouTube anymore. And, again, a lot of people, don't know that a lot of the faces you see around here, or previously seen around here, I should say, like Shreg, Jay, Judah, Jill, or that knucklehead clown. Well, these guys are like all new around here within the last, handful of years. Well, Shreg, I've known him for like, almost 8 years, right? But those guys are not original, right? Those are not the original guys that we hung out with on YouTube. Let me see real quick. Troy Taylor, this is the guy I quoted earlier. He said the idea of the rapture did not even exist until about 170 years ago. No Christian believed in this term for the first 1800 years of Christianity. Well, I have to disagree with you on that, because I would argue with you that the concept of the rapture is found in the Bible. Like, all you got to do is read, what is that? Paul's wording about it, right? Like 1 Corinthians 15:50 on down. It talks about us being changed, right, in a moment, right, being gathered up into the clouds together. I believe it's also in First Timothy, the 4th chapter, if I'm not mistaken, right, maybe like verse 13 on down. The Bible clearly speaks about there being a rapture. What about the verse I quoted earlier in Matthew 24:29? Right, immediately after the tribulation of those days, Christ will return and send his angels with the sound of the trumpet to gather together his elect from all over the world. Like, is that now the rapture in the Bible? Now, the word rapture is not in the Bible. That's true, but that doesn't mean the concept's not in it. Like, I'll give an example. The word reincarnation is not in the Bible. That doesn't mean the concept's not in there. The word America is not used in the Bible, but we know that the Bible talks about the United States. It just calls it by different coded language. Or the word dinosaur is not mentioned in the Bible because it was invented in the 1840s, but we see creatures in the Bible that we today call dinosaurs. So I'd argue the same thing with the rapture. That's just what we call it today, but it's obvious that the concept is found in the Bible. Like, Troy, if you disagree with that, well, how would you interpret the verses that talk about the elect being gathered together in the clouds and called away with the sound of a trumpet? Like, is that not what the church goes around and says is the rapture? So, like, how can you say that concept's not found in the Bible if I just laid out multiple examples where it clearly is taught in the Bible, even though they don't use a particular word we call it today? But it's very obvious that the concept is. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you can really, I don't think you can really combat that fact. Yeah, I think it's very obvious and clear, to see that. Bear with me for a second. Just gotta check something behind the scenes. But yeah, man, it was good bringing those guys up here, to just have a discussion about like the last, 10 years and, stuff that's, happened, man. It's, hard to look back on, it's hard to look back on, all the stuff that's happened, to get to the current, situation and time that we're here today. You know what I'm saying? I agree with a lot of people, as I touched on this a little earlier, but I'll go back to it. I agree with what a lot of people are saying online. It does really seem like, ever since 2020, everything's like went downhill, right? Like I saw the meme the other day, the guy was saying, well, it's 2026 now, but I still can't even comprehend 2020, right? I'm still trying to wrap my mind around 2020. You know what I'm saying? So like everything in general has just, all went downhill. Or in other terms, everything today has like went to shit. Whether we're talking about this economy, whether we're talking about the people, whether we're talking about, our personal lives, whether we're talking about whatever we're talking about, the fact still remains true. That, basically everything in general has all just like went down the drain. You know what I'm talking about? Hell, there was one dude I saw in the comment board that was saying, man, you know, um, he wants to go back to 2016 so bad that it makes him physically, nauseous and, want to pass out. It's like, damn. But again, I don't blame people. I don't blame people. Back then the world was a lot better than what it is today. And don't get me wrong. Obviously, there were bad things happening around the world. There was, violence going on, robberies, murders, poverty. Of course, those things were going on back then. That's true. But I would argue that it's, like, what, 100 times worse today. I mean, shit. How about we talk about, yeah, there's the largest land war in 80 years happening in Europe right now, right? You got the whole situation over in the Middle East right now. You have China circling the island of Taiwan, ready to strike any day. You have AI so advanced now that it can literally fake people and, create movies and, fake environments that look, untellable from the real one. You know what I'm saying? It's like everything is weird today. You know what I'm saying? I think that's just, a fact that can't really be overlooked or denied. Everything in general is just, strange and out of line today. Nothing makes sense in the world today. That you got these idiots online. Oh, preterism, living in the kingdom, living in the kingdom. It's like, really? I mean, well, if that's the case, well, like, why is the world being ran by, wicked men, worshiping the devil, sacrificing people behind the scenes to like some type of, Moloch, owl statue in the Bohemian Grove? You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell's going on? Like how is this like a good world, right? A kingdom under Christ to these preterists sit there and claim on YouTube today. I mentioned this on a stream before, but I'll say it again. Like I reached out recently to Primal Man, which is a guy we've debated like 4 years ago. And he was like, he used to be a full preterist, right? Everything was preterism to him. So I asked him recently, well, what's going on, man? Haven't seen you in years. And he's like, oh man, I'm not the preterist anymore. I don't really believe in that Bible anymore. It's like, okay, well, I mean, shit. Well, at least you're not convincing yourself that this is the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? At least you're smart enough to figure that out, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I just don't get like the mindset of certain people, man. Just some people are just, like just so out of touch with reality. Some people are just so out of touch with what's really going on in the world, man. It really is just bizarre and strange. It really is just bizarre and strange. All the shit that's going on out here. Nobody knows what the hell to believe, anymore at this point. Okay, let me see real quick. You know, The other day I seen a YouTube short the other day somebody put up, right, about that Harambe monkey that died at the zoo. And the guy was saying, "Oh, well, the Rizzler, right? The Rizzler. Oh, well, that's Harambe in reincarnation." Say, what the hell? And his reasoning for it was like, oh, well, he was born like what, a month after Harambe passed away. It's like, well, what the hell is your proof that he's like a reincarnation of Harambe? Are you just like saying this shit, to get people to click on your video, to get view likes and clicks and whatnot? Is that what you're sitting on here, saying to get people to like your content? I mean, come on. You know, it's ridiculous to see that there's, such a dumb shit being talked about on the internet. Here's the fact. Not everybody has the truth. Somebody's lying. Somebody is not telling the truth. There's so many different, doctrines, and viewpoints out there. Not everybody can be right. Somebody has to be wrong. That's the fact. Somebody is right and somebody is wrong. Well, how do we determine who's right and who's wrong? Well, we determine that by, having these discussions. We determine this by having these discussions to see who is telling the truth and who is wrong. That's how we determine this. So when we bring people up for like live conversations about whatever the subject is, well, that gives us all a chance to examine, both sides of the discussion. And we can, help determine, who's telling the truth, who's lying to the people, who's delusional, who's being reasonable. It's very clear to see, regardless of what the topic matter is of the discussion, is becoming very clear to see, who's telling the truth and who's lying to the people. Like one guy out there, what's this guy, the layman seminary, which I call that guy the layman's cemetery, right? Apostle the Horror calls the theological seminary schools, right? Theological cemetery schools, right? So it's the layman's cemetery is what he's running. But it's hilarious to me. Like the dude's like doing like multiple live streams, like every week. I think he does like what, 6 live streams, 4 live streams, something like that. Every other day, he's on there defending free grace, right? Contending for free grace. What is his whole argument? Oh, well, hey, look, man, well, all you have to do is just believe in Jesus. And, nothing that you do in your life could ever cost you your salvation. It doesn't matter if you're a prick to everybody. It doesn't matter how you live. None of that matters. As long as you believe, you're now saved forever without question. It's like, really, you believe that? It's like, what makes you believe that, just out of curiosity? Like, what makes you so sure about that? Oh, well, I don't know, man. Well, how about we talk about where Christ said to keep the law? Oh, well, well, Christ has a new law today. It's just, love everybody and, treat other people good. That's all it is today, man. Like, are you sure about that? Or are you just, making dumb shit up because you don't want to follow the Old Testament, guidelines and whatnot? What I'm saying? Like, a lot of people are just making a damn fool out of themselves. Like, I'll give you a fantastic example. Like that priest I had on my live stream yesterday. I thought he was actually a pretty cool guy. But then, we ended the live stream. I went my way, he went his way. I said, hey, man, you can come back another night if you want. We can continue the discussion. That's fine. And then I go on Discord and I see this guy, he put up like a link to a short that he did. And I clicked the short to see, and he's like, oh, cursing, screaming, yelling. It's like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Like, buddy, did we not leave the discussion like on a positive note, even though we disagree? And it's like, oh, y'all are this, y'all are that, exploding away the Discord server by all these posts and shit. I tell the guy, hey, look, man, you don't need to act like a child in here. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have to remove you from here. But, you have to watch the way you conduct yourself. And, he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to hearken to my warning. So, you know what? I decided, we'll just remove this guy. We'll just ban this guy. Again, I don't want to have to ban people. But you know what? You have to learn how to behave yourself in a community chat. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of us are generally here to have discussions with other people, chat. And there's a lot of, cool, kind, respectable guys on there we have. So there always has to be these, like one or two, bad apples that try to ruin the fun for everybody. You know what I'm saying? So we don't tolerate that here. Like my last server, which I created that one, like what, 4 years ago? You'll saw how people act in there. You know what I'm saying? So I vowed to have better moderation in this server. Not that I didn't do any in the other one, because of course I did, but it's hard as one person to moderate all that. So what I have today is I have two other moderators. I believe um I have Ridge Napper as one of my moderators, and I have another brother in there. Forget his name off the top of the head, but I have another second guy as a moderator in the server. So help us keep track of everything, make sure everybody's in line, not making a damn fool of themselves or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, it's ridiculous. It's just totally ridiculous, the shit that's going on out here, nonsense people believe. And people just fall for it, right? People just fall for the dumb shit. Like, a damn idiot. Like all these people believe in the rapture, rapture, rapture on TikTok. Like, what the hell are you dummies doing? Giving away all your money from your bank account, selling your car for $10, giving away your home because you're not going to need it anymore because Jesus is coming back on the 23rd. It's like, what the hell is wrong with people, man? Like, why are people today just so, like mentally fried, and like dumbed down or something? You know what I'm talking about? It just really is, just bizarre and weird and just strange. You know what I'm talking about? Nobody seems to have, a damn clue as to like what's really going on in the world today, man. But I don't want to make this too drawn out. I'll wrap it up at 2 hours. If anybody made it to the end, go ahead. Let's see. Let me see real quick. If anybody made it to the end of this live stream, go ahead and put hashtag 2016 in the comment section down below, just for a little, inside joke, if anybody made it to the end of this live stream. But it's, yeah, man, it's just, I'm at a loss for words, honestly. And I just honestly don't know what to say anymore with all this dumb shit going on. It's just remarkable to me and just honestly sad, how downhill everything has went. Everything in general, everything in the world has went down, the wrong path. It's like everybody you talk to, everybody's, depressed. Everybody has a sad story to tell. Everybody, either gambled their money away, was in a major divorce, going through hardships at home, either homeless or, just everything you can imagine. Everything you can imagine, is everywhere that you look. You know what I'm saying? It really is quite difficult to have, a positive mindset, with all this shit going on. It really is. But you manage to get through whatever the circumstance is. You know what I'm saying? Hey, well, my advice for people today, this would be my advice. Don't get married, don't have children, and try to save some money for yourself. And have minimal possessions. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's easier said than done. Don't get me wrong. Easier said than done, but that would be my advice for people today. For guys out there that do have a girlfriend, I mean, hey, that's fine, but you shouldn't marry that woman. Why? Because if you're married, by contract with her, well, now she's entitled to 50% of what you own if she decides to leave you. But if you're just, seeing each other, not married, with one another. Well, if she decides to leave you for someone else, well, she can't take half of what you own. Some people are dumb out here. The truth is this, in God's eyes, if you're a man living with a woman, if you have children with one another or you've been living together for, say 3-4 years, God views that as you guys are married. That's how it's viewed in the Bible. There's nothing in the Bible about being mandated to go before a priest, give the woman a wedding ring and whatnot, and, pay $100,000 for a wedding. That's not required. Now, you can do that. It's fine to do that if you want to, but you don't have to do that to be considered to be married to a woman, right? In God's eyes, if you two live together, for say a few years, have children together, and you don't marry her by contract, well, God's eyes still view you guys as married. If something happens today, because, women have all this freedom and liberty to do whatever they want. Well, guess what? If that woman wants to leave you, well, guess what? You weren't contractually married, so she can't take half of what you own. That's just smart advice right there. Like, hey, rock upon him. I know we mentioned him a lot tonight, but for good reason, because he was one of the original dudes around here. Like he recently got married and he has a child. I said, hey, look, man, on one hand, I feel happy for you, but on the other hand, I feel bad for you as well. Hey, good for you that you found, a woman and, have a child now. Hey, good for you, man. But you know what? I'd argue that that's not a wise thing to do today. I would argue that you might regret that decision in, 5 or 10 years. I mean, well, shit. Well, hopefully we ain't here in 5 or 10 years. And that would be the ideal situation, that Christ comes back and brings judgment upon this world and delivers his people. That's what we're looking to. I see people online talking about, well, what is your, future and vision for yourself? Like, where do you see yourself, in 5 years? Like the one meme, it said, the guy asked the Fraggle or whatever, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And the Fraggle's like, in 5 years, buddy, I'm just trying to make it to Friday, or I'm just trying to make it to damn Friday. I was like, oh shit. He ain't lying right there. He ain't lying, saying that he's just trying to survive to Friday to get that next paycheck. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit, who the hell knows 5 years in the future from now? Hey, the text says, don't think upon tomorrow, for nobody knows what a day can bring, nearly paraphrasing the text. You don't know what could happen to you tomorrow, man. You don't know what the hell could happen to you. Like shit, I'll give you an example. Like I had a couple valuable like Funko Pops that I had like on my desk collection, right? See, the other day I had to move the shit into storage for some bullshit reason. And what do you know? Of course, it's, downpouring when the shit needs to be moved because we got limited time. And of course, it's like, the back of a flat truck with an open top. I had to put the shit in. I was like, okay, well, hopefully the rain doesn't seep through these containers and get this shit wet because this is worth money. And what do you know? Of course, the water seeps through these boxes that are supposed to be watertight and gets half of the shit wet. You know what I'm saying? So, shit, I never thought that would happen. I didn't think that would be a problem I have to deal with. If I get watertight containers, the shit should work. But that's what happened. So, hey, you don't know what could happen to you tomorrow, man. So sometimes you just gotta, enjoy what you got while you got it. Because you could lose it, tomorrow, man. And that's just what it is. A lot of people don't learn to appreciate the things they have in life until they don't have it anymore. Because once you lose it, now it's gone. And that's again, that's an unfortunate thing, but I guess, sometimes you gotta take those, these losses as life lessons for lack of better terms. I guess that's sometimes what you have to do with, some of these, bullshit circumstances, that come up in life. You got to take it as, learning experience, and, got to like move on with it. But yeah, there was some dude that left a comment. He was laughing at these guys, like talking about the rapture, saying, yeah, hey, well, I'll bet that these guys will still be saying the rapture will happen when we're here in, 2047. I was laughing to myself because the guy was trying to like joke around. And I was thinking to myself, like, dude, what the hell are you talking about being here in 2047? We ain't looking to be here another 20 damn years. We ain't looking to be here another, 21 damn years, man. What the hell are you talking about? I mean, we don't know when the hell, Christ is coming back and going to bring judgment, but by everything we see in the world, it really looks like it's about to happen, any year now. It looks like it could be literally any year now by the shit that's going on in the world. Like, do you not see like in Europe, like how hot the shit's getting there? I literally see videos of street signs melting, business billboards melting, trash cans melting, car roofs melting and indenting. You can literally cook food on the sidewalk there. It's so hot. Well, that goes back to the prophecies. What is that? Revelation, the 16th chapter. One of the last plagues that God would bring upon man is that the angels would be able to scorch men with the sun, right? Increasing the temperature upon the earth. Now, I'm not saying that that particular verse is fulfilled, but I'm saying that that's one of the things that would be happening in the last times, is that the temperature would be increased and people would be complaining about the heat. That's what the text says. So it's going to get a lot worse than what it is now, but, it just shows that what's happening is not natural. Like, this shit wasn't going on, 20 years ago, 40 years ago. There wasn't this type of intense, heat in Europe like how it is today. Now, perhaps maybe there were a few small pockets for a couple days. I believe they call it a solar flare, right? Where it'll be like a short increase in temperature and then go back down. But I mean, this shit is like here to stay now. You know how hot shit's getting. And that's just what it is. So I don't want to go on too long of a rant here. It's already been over 2 hours. So I'm going to wrap the show up there, and y'all have a good night.